It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That, of course, was Poison from Open Up and Say Ah. The name of that tune was Tear Down the Walls. And on the line right now to tear down the walls of everything that is Poison, it is the longtime, all-time drummer of Poison. It is Rikki Rockett. Rikki, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. And you know what? Tearing Down the Walls is one of my favorite songs. I love that song. Thanks for playing that. I appreciate that.
Sure, man. Well, dude, and you know, it's ironic, man. You guys have had a lot of music that has come out. And I think probably if you ask most fans, they probably go to the albums between that one with either the debut or with Flesh and Blood as their favorites. But for me, it was always that one. It was just a little bit dirtier and just a little bit more, I don't know, mean, if that's such a word in the Poison vernacular.
Well, I'll tell you, actually Open Up and Say that, or no, you talking about tracks or albums?
Or the album itself.
Okay. Actually, Open Up and Say is our best-selling album, believe it or not.
No kidding.
Yeah. You would think it was Flesh and Blood or something like that, but it was actually Open Up and Say
No.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is, definitely, man. Well, dude.
Yeah, it surprised me, too, but yeah, it's the truth.
No doubt. Well, Rikki, obviously you guys are you're back together, you're out on tour, so why don't we start there? How's the tour going? And, you know, does it feel like, you know, you're back in the old driver's seat once again?
It does, yes, and I'm enjoying it, you know. I mean, this is who I am. This is what I like to do, and I mean, I just can't imagine life really any other way. I can't sort of understand myself without music.
Right.
And that brings up an interesting point, because there was just recently a poll where they asked kids like around 14 years of age in that general bracket, would they rather have their Snapchat or their iPod, and they said like 70% said Snapchat. That freaks me out a little bit because you and I are people of music, and we can't imagine life without it. Now, honestly, I don't think people realize what the world would be like without music. I think they're just taking it for granted and not understanding just how important it is. Every movie, every advertisement, almost everything has music in it, you know, and it's so important. So if I leave anything today on the table, it's to get people to want to embrace and play and keep rock alive.
Sure. Do you think it's, you know, I'm roughly your age as well. I'm 49 years old. So I grew up in basically the same era. Do you well, I'll put it this way. I blame our era for not raising our kids right, specifically with music, because we didn't teach them the same values that we had as far as getting an album and reading every word and having your friends over to come and listen to it for that first time and dissect it the way we did. You know, we kind of let our kids discover it, you know, through the MP3, download it, listen to it, throw it away era. And, you know, I don't know, do you blame us or do you blame the kids for not just adapting to it?
Well, listen, technology moves on. And I mean, when you and I were growing up, you know, if the new Fog Hat record came out, we went to the kid's house that had the best stereo system, and we all popped a brew behind our parents' back, and we watched and we listened to the new Led Zeppelin record or Fog Hat or whatever it was.
Sure.
Who had the best system? Now, who has the best Xbox system and the new Fortnite? That's where everybody goes to their house, right?
Right.
And so that has changed. However, I have seen a shift where it's almost like it's not about accessibility. It's what you can't access that makes everybody so curious.
Sure.
And when kids start hitting that 15-year-old mark, they start getting extremely curious about music and what isn't so easily available. And what isn't so easily available is just, you know, sweaty guys or girls playing rock and roll. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's not everywhere in this world. You can't download that. You think you can, but you can't. You have to go see it live. You have to be part of it. You have to, you know, you have to smell the beer in the club and the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then it becomes something different. So our kids will find it. They're just being kids, and you know, I think, I think we're going to see a change pretty soon, actually. I hope I don't sound all over the place. I know
no, that's all good.
That way, but.
All good. Do you think, or are you seeing that at the shows? Because I have to imagine, at a Poison Cheap Trick show, you're going to have a lot of people that are our age. But at this point, a lot of those people that have kids, their kids are discovering the band or just remembering the hits from whether it's at a football game or whatever. Are you seeing a lot of those kids at the shows, and what is their reaction? Is it the same reaction as their parents, or is it completely different?
Their reaction, I mean, they're getting impressed or not for the very first time. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take them for granted. And that's why you have to continually push the edge as a musician, no matter who you are or where you are. You have to constantly realize that there's new people that are going to come to the fray, and there's going to be some people that are going to fall off. Some people just stop, going to rock concerts or really bothering with music.
Right.
Younger people start to take over, or people discover it later in life. They get married at 21 years old and they have a family and they have this and that. All of a sudden at 35, their kids are older and they're kind of like going, man, I miss rock and roll and I want to get back to that. So it's kind of all over the place, really. And you see these little swells,
right?
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At different points in time. We're having a very successful tour right now. And I don't know what to attribute it to, except that I think that people want to come and see. Pop Evil's doing a great job. But, with Cheap Trick and Poison, you have this long history of hits and songs that people know. And I think that plays a big role in it, too.
No doubt, man. Well, obviously, man, it took a while for you guys to get Poison back together and, back on the road. What pushed you guys to reform now? Was it just the need to get out there? Was it money only? What was it that pushed you guys, to get the four of you back together?
Well, we were out with Def Leppard last year.
That's true. That's true.
So, it wasn't like we broke up. Like,
sure.
It wasn't like middle fingers flying,
right?
Or something like that. You know what I mean? We have new management, and the management came to us and said, I think you guys need to get out there and headline, and I think you can do it, and we're here to help. And we just said, yeah, let's do it. It's time. We haven't headlined for a while. We've been doing, we opened for Def Leppard because it was a great opportunity. We opened for Motley Crue because we knew they were not going to be around forever. And they've been around longer than us, so it was obvious that they were going to headline that.
Sure.
But now it's time. It's time that we go back to that, and it's going great so far.
Excellent, man. Now, I wanted to delve a little bit into a personal area with you, and it's because I just sort of went through it myself. With you, obviously, 10 years ago, went through a cancer, battle, and I just went through it with my son. My son had lymphoma and had to get through that, and we just finished that in January. Obviously, now with you having 10 years in between when you had your battle with it till now. Do you ever stop worrying about it, and to where it's just not a part of your day to day, or is it always something that's there?
You know what? Actually, your information is just a little bit wrong.
Okay.
It wasn't 10 years ago. It was I was diagnosed I was diagnosed in 2015.
Oh, I thought it was 2008. Okay.
And I've been in remission for 2 years.
Okay.
Now. And I had cancer base of tongue, and it was HPV related,
right?
Which is the leading cause of that type of cancer these days. And no, I don't stop worrying about it, even though immunotherapy was what worked for me, and it's got an incredible track record. Of course you worry. I just will eat and get an ache or a pain and go, oh, gee, what's going on there?
Right.
So sure, it always kind of lives with you. What did your son have, by the way? Lymphoma where?
Neck, the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in the neck.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I think Vivian Campbell's had that as well.
Right. Yeah, you can live through
it.
And it was, and I'm sure you've lived this as well, man. When you first get told, it's like, oh shit, the world is over, and then but then you go through the treatment and you do what you're supposed to do and you do the steps, and it it either works or it doesn't. And at least in my case and in your case too, it seems like it has. So, you take what you get, I guess.
Exactly. Oh, it's the scariest thing that you can deal with. One of the scariest things.
Sure.
I mean, that's just. But there's so many amazing things, like not just on the horizon, but actually being used right now with clinical trials that are working amazingly, and almost making it where the cancer probably won't ever come back. And that is the immunotherapy. If you can get it to work, it's amazing.
No.
It doesn't always work, and they keep finding ways to make it work. And once all that has figured out, it's such a game changer.
No doubt, man. Now, obviously, with yours being an HPV, does it make you regret some of the stuff that you did in 1987, 88, 89, whenever it might have been that the debauchery caught you, or not at all?
Not at all. I mean, honestly, if you're this is what my doctor told me. He goes, if you're an adult and you've had sex with more than 2 people in your life, you have HPV.
Oh, wow.
And, there's people, that have been married 20 years, never went outside of the relationship. I know one personally,
right?
Because I helped this person through it. And, they got it. It just can lie dormant. Everybody's got HPV. That's why now it's great to get kids vaccinated. I think everybody needs to lay their whole weird religious stuff aside, or whatever is their hang up about it,
right? And
get your kid vaccinated when they're 11 years old. They could get exposed to it in a number of ways. You know what I mean? And it's preventable. So prevent it, for God's sakes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You don't have to be our society puts this label on things, makes people shame themselves for all these things. It's like getting a cold, literally. It really is.
No
People
doubt.
should not feel embarrassed about that.
Sure.
And actually, here's the other part about it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an HPV-related cancer, chances are it's more easily curable, believe it or not.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, it responds to treatment better.
Okay. Very cool, man. Well, Rikki, let's move back to music, because health will make people crazy. But
it will. But hey, this is, you said open up and say, yeah. I'm going to tell people, on a closing note on that, if you have a sore throat that lasts a while and you have lymph nodes swell up, go to an ENT, open up and say, and get checked. And
right.
Make sure you don't have something going on, because it is very prevalent these days. And I want to see people be healthy. So anyway, we'll stop on that note.
All right, cool. Well, let's talk about some other things that you've been doing. The one thing, that I was enjoying, and I don't know if you're still doing it or not, was I was loving your video podcast. Are you still knocking those out, or did that take a sidestep because of the tour, or what?
No, I've done 2 since I've been on the road, actually, and I'm working on one right now.
Okay.
It's up on my computer right now, so no, not at all. It's harder because, you're bouncing around in a tour bus, you know what I mean? And I mean, it's just literally the schedule makes it hard.
Sure.
People don't understand a lot of times. I'll roll into town and I'll have a friend or something like that, or an acquaintance that'll say, hey, come on over and let's throw some steaks on the grill and we'll hang out and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, I am not sitting around drinking beers till showtime. We have all sorts of stuff going on. We got sound checks. We've got interviews. We have meet and greets. We have all kinds of strategies and sometimes we don't even get in until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is busy out here. And then the days that we do have some free time, sometimes you just go, oh, God, I just want to, sit in a bathtub for half an hour and, watch, Sons of Anarchy reruns,
Right, sure. Is it comfortable for you? We're obviously in a different age, 2018, than we were, in Poison's quote-unquote heyday in 88, 89, whatever. Is it comfortable or uncomfortable for you to let the world see inside your world a little bit more than maybe they're due, and the reason I bring this up is we talk about this a lot on the show, where, there was something to the mystique of bands where you didn't know anything about them except for when they rolled through your town, and then it gave it almost more excitement. Where now, odds are good that if I tweeted something that was interesting to you, you might tweet back or whatever. So with a podcast, you obviously open yourself up, you open your personal world up to the world, at least on some level. Are you comfortable with that, or do you wish that it would go back to the way it was a little bit?
A lot of times I wish it would go back to the way it was a little bit. But, I mean, honestly, we live in a time now where, like, guys like you and me could be uncomfortable with it. But the fact is that kids growing up today can't see the world any other way.
Sure.
I mean, literally, they don't know what that would have been like. We say mystique. It's like, that's like when your dad would tell you about a radio show and they'd all gather around the radio and listen to some radio show. And you can't wrap your head around it. You're like,
right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
The shadow knows, my dad used to say, I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is. So our kids don't know that either. They don't know what that mystique is. So, but for guys like you and I, yeah, sometimes you sit there and, I mean, I think back and go, man, Alice Cooper is chewing on a dead baby in an attic right now. And he's not, he's golfing, you know what I mean? And I don't want Alice to be that guy. I want him to be this demonic, thing or whatever. But guess what? He's a human being. And, so yeah, things like that, but I think it just makes you have to be creative in a different way. It's why people, it's why I've become a little bit multimedia. I do love cameras and I do love doing all this vlog stuff. I love sharing my passion. So I've just kind of taken that and
sure.
just, I'm having fun with it. You know what I mean? And, I don't like when somebody's got a camera phone stuck in my face all the time. That I don't like. I think it's invasive.
Right.
I think it's disrespectful. And I think it's disrespectful for anybody. And I think schools today shouldn't have kids with phones in the classroom. They need to focus on the moment and live in the moment and all that sort of stuff. But, there is a time and place for it. And, it's a balance, man. It's finding the right balance. There's no single answer. And some people are better with this stuff than others. And, but it's really funny when somebody goes, hey, I don't know anything about, my smartphone. It's like, well, you better learn.
Right. So true, man. Well, Rikki, obviously you guys are out on the road. You're out on the road with Cheap Trick and Pop Evil. The tour runs for another couple weeks, I believe. And then what comes after the tour for you guys?
Well, I don't know. We're actually going to have a meeting about that. And so I don't have any announcement at the moment,
okay.
But we are going to sit down and talk about the future of Poison very, very soon. I have, my side project, the Devil City Angels. We just finished a single and a music video that we have not released yet. We're in the editing process. So I hope to get out and play some music with the Devil City Angels too this summer. Or fall at least. Okay. But as far as Poison, I'm really hoping that. I'm up for whatever. I love to play and I love to record and this is my baby, so I'm in it to win it.
No doubt. Do you think that it still has the magic that it did before? Primarily because Brett's been out touring and playing the songs without you guys for a while now. Do you think that it still will have the magic? Of the four of you that kind of, hasn't been recorded, I guess I'll say, since for a while now.
Oh, are you talking about if we went in and recorded a record?
Yeah. Live? Yeah. Obviously the live thing, you guys haven't missed much, but you haven't recorded an album in, ages. Right.
Well, I think that it would be, and I don't know until we do it, but, based on how it is when we play live, I can't imagine it being any different recording in terms of having that magic.
Okay. Very cool. And last one, and this is just a silly radio question more than like just a conversation question, but it's just something I'm curious about for somebody that's been doing it as long as you have. What's left musically for you that you're like, damn, I still got to do this, that you haven't done?
Well, I'm sort of doing that with Devil City Angels, and the more I do these these vlogs, sometimes I use other people's royalty-free music, but a lot of times I write my own music.
Okay.
And so that's helping me develop in a different way. I have a recording studio at home. Obviously, I can't access it when I'm out here on the road. So yeah, I'm sort of playing with those things. And, you know, Devil City Angels is we're not like Poison.
Right.
We're a rock band, but it's more blues based. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a different kind of groove. So that's a fun space to explore for me. And I'm having a great time doing it.
Excellent, man. Well, for now, people are just going to have to settle. Since Devil City Angels is not on the road, they're going to have to settle for Poison gigs, I guess. So, Rikki,
I guess so. Huh?
why don't you tell people, you know, where they can keep up with you and you and Poison and, you know, all the online stuff, and we'll go from there.
Well, it's the poisonofficial.com website.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's a Poison Instagram. There's a Poison Facebook. And I jump on the Facebook quite a bit and post things or see what people are saying. And so that's the spots for that. And then I'm everywhere, Rikki Rockett everywhere. Okay, so it's like Facebook, right. Rikki Rockett, Instagram, Rikki Rockett, Twitter, Rikki Rockett. And YouTube. I'm a YouTuber, so and hello to all my YouTube friends out there.
Nice. Well, all right, Rikki. Well, obviously, Poison is out on tour right now. Make sure you catch them if they come to a town near you, or if you're willing to get in the car and drive a little bit. You know, there may not be that many more opportunities to catch them. They are, you know, like all the rest of us, they're getting older. So make sure you catch them if they are near you. And Rikki, before we go, we always end with the artist picking a closing track from their catalog, maybe telling us a story about it. So what would you like to wrap this one up with?
Let me see. God, so what, any track? Or
any track you want.
One particular?
No, any track you want.
I would say Life Loves a Tragedy. I love that song because I remember we did that record in Canada with the late Bruce Fairbairn.
Okay.
And I was listening to, and I'm just going to be transparent about this.
Sure.
I was listening to Don't Stop Believing that morning, and I was listening to what Steve Smith was doing, and what he was playing towards the end of that song, and I decided to incorporate it into that song. I mean, of course, I had to change it to get it to arrange correctly.
Sure.
But so that became one of my favorite drum tracks on that record. So.
All right. Well, let's check it out right now.
Nice story.
There you go.
All right.
All right. Well, let's check it out right now. This is Poison with Life Loves a Tragedy right here on your Classic Metal Show.